Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We continue our conversation now on Election Day 2015 in New Jersey, when the entire Assembly is up for election. It's up for grabs. And we speak with the minority leader in the New Jersey Assembly, Jon Bramnick. Sir, thank you for joining us. How important is this race, the Assembly race coming up?
Extremely important, because the House, the State Assembly, is the spending house, meaning that all appropriation bills start in the State Assembly, meaning that if you have the wrong people spending your money, that's bad. And for the past 13 years, the Democrats have controlled the State Assembly, and your taxes are the highest in the nation. So it's time to change the State Assembly, put different people in who aren't going to spend your money more careful. They're going to be careful with your money.
I assume when you're saying putting people in that aren't going to spend your money or be more careful with your money, you're talking about putting more Republicans in. Is there a chance of that? Can you pick up Assembly seats in this election?
Of course. The issue... I
mean, there's always a chance. Is it going to happen? Could it really happen? It seems like there's only a couple of contested races.
I'm optimistic for the following reason. The word's getting out that the Democrats have been in charge for 13 years. They can't defend their record. When you have the highest debt as any state in the country, and you have the highest taxes, and United Van Line says we're an exit state, we're like the #1 exit state, all you have to do is determine who's in charge of spending money. And it's the State Assembly, and the Democrats have been in charge for 13 years. I think you want to make a change.
But does that word get out? And the reason I'm asking you is because Rutgers Eagleton poll was out the other day and found out that 85% in New Jersey don't even know there's an election on Tuesday. So how do you expect them to know about the issues if they don't even know there's an election?
Well, we have knowledgeable voters voting because it is a small turnout. So knowledgeable voters will know who's in charge of the State Assembly. That's why I'm optimistic.
Does that give, is that better for the majority party in a district or a minority party in a district? Does it come down to just who has the best organization?
It may depend on the district, because if you have a district that's more Democratic, that means a smaller turnout might favor the Democrats, and vice versa in a Republican district.
But doesn't it create an opportunity for whoever the minority is?
I think it does. But once again, you asked me district specific.
Exactly.
District specific, if you have a 90% Democratic district, then a small turnout probably still helps Democrats. But generally speaking, you do have knowledgeable voters, and that's what we're looking for. People who know who's been in charge for 13 years and say, why would we send the Democrats back to the State Assembly?
But, you know, we said, let's take the two answers together. You talk about how important this is, and everything has to come through the Assembly. And so it's just as important, the Assembly as a whole, as the governor's race. It's just as important as some of the other elections that happen in other years. And yet, nobody seems to care about this election.
Well, you know, it's funny you ask that, because I watch some of these commentators on TV, and they say, nobody knows, and then they start talking about the presidential election, which is in 2016. So I don't think on the one hand you can say nobody knows and then not devote an entire show to the Assembly election. So, you know, I'm not blaming anybody, but people can't say, I don't know, and then the media doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, well, that's why we're doing this show. To tell you the truth, this is exactly why.
That's why I'm here, actually. Yeah, because you're doing the show.
To get the word out and make certain that some of the people know how important that is.
So I'm asking the people, please, vote a different General Assembly vote for the Republicans. Democrats had their shot. Very nice people. They just haven't managed your money well. Thank you.
You know, it's funny. I talked to Mr. Prieto, Assemblyman Prieto, Speaker.
Who's a very nice man.
And I talked to him, and we talked. I was down at the Chamber of Commerce. They had a crisis symposium, to call it, for lack of a better word. Oh, you were there? I didn't get to see you there, but I did talk to Mr. Prieto. And they talked about the tax structure in New Jersey and the fact that it has to be changed, right? Isn't that what came out of that?
Well, I don't know if that's what came out, but
no, it didn't happen, but that's what they said. And so I talked to Mr. Prieto, and I said, so can it happen? He went, no.
Well,
can't happen.
Well, that's why it hasn't changed. Clearly, there's some pension and health benefit reform that we have to do, because we cannot fix the $80 billion deficit, because otherwise you'd have too much revenue coming out of the state budget, meaning that less to reduce property taxes. How about school formula funding? That has to change, because right now we send money into schools that fail. We need Jersey City gets a $500 million. Jersey City is doing really well. If we don't change those kind of formulas, we're not going to be able to reduce property taxes. So yes, we can do it, but you got to change who's voting in the state assembly.
Do you have any? What are your real hopes for this election? Could you? I mean, realistically, can you pick up a seat or two?
Of course.
You're not going to get the majority, though.
Well, I'm optimistic that we can get the majority as long as people in the media point out the fact that it's time for a change in the state assembly. But once again, you have to enlighten and educate all of the voters to say, why would you send the same team of Democrats back to the state assembly? They've overspent, underperformed, raised your taxes. I mean, that's my job, to get that message out. You know, I'm not a gambler, so I don't bet on the outcome. What I do is I'm the minority leader to send a message out as to change. And I think the average voter knows that. They vote for the Republicans.
Minority Leader in the Assembly, Jon Bramnick, asking you to please get out and vote, and I assume you want them to vote Republican.
Many times.
When we come back, somebody that's running as a Democrat for the first time.